Jack, hello. Thank you for accepting our invitation and for giving us a little bit of your precious time to answer our questions.
Of course, thank you.
So I will start with a very basic one, but I think super important. Why are you here? Why was it important for you to support the first edition of this event, the Africa Bitcoin conference?
A simple reason, like I'm a huge fan of Bitcoin. I believe in it. I'm from America. I'm from the United States. I spent a lot of time in France, a lot of time in Paris. I love it. But both in Europe and also the United States, we live very much in a bubble. Bitcoin, in many ways, is more of a desire than a necessity. Whereas if you look at the continents of Central America, South America, and Africa, it is a necessity. There is real inflation. There's crumbling governments. There's real need for a cross-border solution, especially within this continent. So developing out of necessity versus desire really focuses on specific problems, and I think the continent will be a leader in why Bitcoin is used and why it's important and why it's necessary. And I think it'll show Europe, and I think it'll show the US that it's not just about a number going up or down. It's not about looking at the price in any one particular moment. It's not around a casino in any way. This is moving money for people in a way that they don't have an option otherwise.
So based on that, do you agree with the idea that Bitcoin is the future of Africa and Africa is the future of Bitcoin? Like this connection?
Africa has many, many futures. I think Bitcoin is a good tool to enable a better future, certainly. And you feel that, and the people here feel it. I mean, it's so easy to explain the why of Bitcoin here versus in France, in my experience, or in the US. And I'm sure you've had that experience as well. But here it resonates immediately because of what's happening around the people, the governments, the currency, the French control of 14 currencies on this continent, which Macron has recently talked about and admitted is wrong and incorrect. But like that is the reality. So that's why Bitcoin is important.
Are you as excited today with Bitcoin, with Block, as when you were launching Twitter
more
15 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, I see money and money is a form of communication. It's a form of exchange. Twitter was an exchange of ideas. Bitcoin is an exchange of value in a different way. It's they're both exchanges of value. They're both expression. Bitcoin is inherently censorship resistant. Twitter was not. And I think that's a function of it being a corporation, which I've spent a lot of time thinking about and want to work towards addressing in a similar way with the protocol. But Bitcoin was built with those ideas, and I think it really it changes the internet completely, and I think it has changed, and I think it will continue to change it and make something like a Twitter or a Facebook or a Reddit or a TikTok. There'll be more accountability on what people expect and what's acceptable or not.
You were speaking about this decentralized Twitter in Miami in 2021. Can you give us a little bit more information on that?
Yeah, I think there ideally will be many decentralized answers to this. And I don't think the decentralization is as important as the fact that social media should have a protocol that's not owned by a company, not owned by a government, that is equivalent to the protocol of email or the protocol of the web, HTTP or SMTP. If you look at email, it's a great metaphor. Google has an interface on top of it called Gmail. Microsoft has one called Outlook. There are many others, obviously, but they're all bound to this transport mechanism to send emails. And they can build phenomenal businesses on top of it. But if I don't want to use those, and I want greater control or a greater understanding of how the thing works, I can just look at the protocol. I can build something directly on the protocol itself. And I believe social media should have the same thing, where it shouldn't be owned by a company. It shouldn't be owned by a government. And that it has a lot of properties that we value in the open internet, which have been unfortunately taken away by a lot of the centralization of the discovery on the internet, the centralization on the web, whether it be in the app stores or search or sites like Twitter or Reddit, where you go to one place that brings everything together. It provides value, but that can be done in other ways too.
Is there anything that would make you change your mind about Bitcoin, about its potential, like change your thesis on the technology?
I believe Bitcoin is the best answer to what should be the question, what should be the native currency for the internet. If there's a better answer to that, then I'm all for it. I think Ethereum, when it started, wanted to be a currency. I think it's much better at being a general purpose distributed computing framework. Bitcoin has all the properties to actually be a true money transmission device that people can trust, a true thing that we might be able to use as currency. So if it fails any of those properties, such as censorship resistance, privacy, speed, convenience, security being the number one, then we need a better answer. But I don't believe it will, because it is a slow and deliberate development model that is not controlled by any one individual. And it's controlled by a consensus mechanism, which is highly complex, yet it works because there are so many interested parties that want to, continue to see this work and make sure that it's successful.
After all those years, what still drives you? Like, I don't think it's money anymore. So what is the thing that makes you wake up every morning and fight for the project you like?
I mean, just being able to, at this conference, I sat down with a number of the top African activists across the country and what they're doing and how their governments have treated them financially, and how they, Nigeria, for instance, during the End SARS protest, the government not only told social media companies to shut down their accounts, but also told their banks to shut down their accounts. So they had no resources to actually continue in their protest and get their voices out. And that's where Bitcoin came in. People were donating Bitcoin to these activists directly, and I think we'll probably see more of that in the future. And Bitcoin will definitely be an answer. So that really excites me, and it just feels correct, and it feels right, and it feels like it holds our governments to account to make sure that they're doing the right thing, which is serving the people, not the other way around.
I think it's connected, but in 2021 in Miami again, during the interview with Alex Blackstein, you said Bitcoin changes absolutely everything. What did you mean by absolutely everything?
It changes, when you really understand it, it changes your mindset. This whole concept of proof of work, really being able to show, not tell. The concept of don't trust, verify, I think is a very powerful one that encourages more open source and more transparency, and giving people at least access to the information to judge for themselves. The fact that there's no single ego or individual behind it, that it's a consensus model, feels very new, very important, and it feels like that is how society will continue to iterate and evolve over time. So everything can be inspired by the ideas built into it. It doesn't fix everything, but I think it at least changes our mindset in such a way that we can have better answers to the problems we're experiencing today.
Last question for you. You announced a couple of months ago that Block would work and release an open source hardware wallet and also mining ring. Can you give us a little bit more information on that? Why you are doing it and what is the status?
Yeah, we're doing it because again, we want to make sure that our company is continuing to contribute to the ethos of Bitcoin, which is an open source, a transparent ethos. We believe we can build a phenomenal business on top of it, but we don't believe we should necessarily own every aspect of it. So we're building a self-custodial wallet. We're open sourcing everything about it, from the hardware design to the chip design to the software, everything. The same will be true for a mining system. And we want to create a mining system that is functional in multiple ways, not just mining Bitcoin, but you can imagine like a typical thing that takes a lot of energy that provides utility to people is a space heater. In colder regions such as Paris in winter, people are in their apartment, they buy a space heater, it takes a ton of energy. What if you just have a Bitcoin miner who's just casting off the heat? It's heating your apartment, but it's also paying for its own electricity. So it provides instant utility in a way that is useful, and you don't have to really think about it. So those are the form factors we're interested in, but we want to make sure that we're giving all of our plans and roadmaps and intent away so that other people can build the same thing, because we want to see more and more of this, because the more mining we have, the more secure the network is, the more people we have with wallets, the more security we have from an individual level. And again, like we have more of that concept of people being a little bit more sovereign and not being reliant upon a bank as much as they have to be reliant today.
Thank you very much, Jack.
It
was a pleasure and an honor to have you on the podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.